In this video, I want to go over some of the most recent Fallout 76 news. Just yesterday, the new treasure hunter event went live in-game, and I want to explain that pretty completely, what exactly the event entails, what kind of cool new rewards you can earn from it, but even further, why it's not really a huge hit, or not as big of a hit as I originally suspected it would be. Even further, we see some additional information from Bethesda around seasons, and some extra clarifications on them. And last but not least, I wanted to talk a bit about the Battle Royale mode, and actually certain exploits, both around that mode and in the game in general. If you guys enjoy the content, you can leave a like or get subscribed. Just recently, we had a new addition to the merch store. You could find this pretty cool mug linked down below if you are interested. But otherwise, starting things off, let's look at Bethesda's most recent Inside the Vault article. This was a fairly light one, not in content, but in new content, as quite a bit of what was shared in this was actually shared in the patch notes earlier this week. Although we did get some new information from it. They start off restating their most recent season's response, how participation in all seasons will be free, not just the first one. The wording in the original article made some people think subsequent seasons would be paid, but Bethesda further clarifies that. And even to just get very specific, how with seasons, everyone's going to start at the same time and follow the exact same progress. Except after 2 weeks, you can rank up once by paying 150 atoms, and you could hypothetically do that until the end. Otherwise, it seems like large in part it's straightforward. The monetization aspect of this is that 150 atoms and nothing else thus far. They expanded the Fallout First statement they made in that original tweet, describing how we are looking into potentially adding some bonus rewards at certain ranks for Fallout First members, but this will not be something they do in the first season, and I want to see some of the feedback they get from the first season before deciding to implement that. For those additional Fallout First rewards, I'm not totally sure how that would go over. Right now there's a big push for additional features in Fallout First, especially some of the ones that Bethesda described would get added at some point or were likely to get added but never really came. You'd obviously have to see how many rewards you get as a bonus, how many rewards you get as default, but just one big takeaway I have from that, it feels very mobile game-esque. Having the premium membership to get bonus rewards from natural gameplay is just one of those things you see as a staple of many mobile games. And then finally to describe how the season's update will not be available in the PTS. They cite technical limitations, in particular the Atomic Shop is not available in the PTS, so when it comes to live, it'll be our first introduction to it across the board. In the original article, Bethesda described how at a later point they would have a deeper dive into seasons, and some people thought that was this, or were worried that was this, because it was fairly light, or not fairly light, it was very light on new information, but one of the community managers did clarify. The previous article was an overview of seasons as a whole, that being the one that released last Thursday, but in June, we're going to take a deeper dive into more of the specifics for Season 1 and show many more of the rewards. So it does confirm a couple of things. One, Seasons obviously isn't coming until June, and even further, it's not coming at the first week of June. If they want to have an article out, it'll likely be a Thursday article. They push updates on Tuesday, so the earliest point we could see Seasons get implemented would likely be June 9th, which is still several weeks away. And also that would be interesting because it does reinforce this idea that Bethesda is on roughly a month-long update schedule. You're getting updates once per month, and it does allow you to kind of frame out the rest of summer. When applying updates every 4 to 6 weeks, we can figure out how some of this roadmap stuff will get implemented. One of the other things that we didn't see in the Inside the Vault, but was actually addressed by a community manager, was how vending machines and display cases are still disabled. That's now going on over a week, and now that we're entering into a long weekend, a holiday weekend in the US, I have a feeling it might be a little bit longer still. The community manager describes how they want to make sure the duping issue is fully addressed before they re-enable vending machines and display cases. And in sympathizing with players, how the wait is long, and they are actively working towards a fix, although no time frame is available just yet, which is a bit of a bummer, but I imagine Bethesda also really wants to get that fixed, considering it is such a major feature of the game. Whether you're an extremely active user or somebody that just plays once a week, you'll probably realize this. With player vending being absent, it's really showed me how often I rely on that system. Although outside of that, there's no other major dupe exploit that's widely known throughout the community, but one other thing that is pretty widely known throughout the community are ways to transfer items illegitimately, mainly those gold bullion items that you otherwise can't trade. And Bethesda described in their AMA, they really had no intention of ever opening up trade around these. I find this interesting because there has been some patching and changes to Bethesda blocking the ability to do this, but of course subsequent ones pop up. But thus far I haven't really heard of any major bans around this. Around crafting an item I learned the plan for and crafted and giving it to somebody who didn't quite know the plan yet. It'll be interesting to see if these bans ever come. This exploit's been around for 3 weeks or so, or different variants of it, and it is kind of a big one, especially if Bethesda actually wants people to continue to do the grind. Next in the article, Bethesda goes over the brand new Treasure Hunter event, which is live right now in game, and will last until 12 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday. And also worth noting, at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday, the Fosnot Parade event does begin, so the two events going right up to each other, which is pretty cool. As far as the Treasure Hunter event itself goes, basically now in the Ash Heap region of Fallout 76, which is this one, you'll be able to find Treasure Hunter mole miners, which will appear as legendary enemies. So firstly, an important note on this, even though the treasure hunters themselves are mole miners, you don't have to look at only mole miner spawns. These guys will spawn all throughout the Ash Heap. It could be at other places that only robots spawn, that only Scorch tend to spawn, only ghouls tend to spawn. Although, one important disclaimer, 2 places they will not spawn are either A, during events, so let's say you are defending a workshop or doing the load bearing event. None of these treasure hunters will spawn from that, and even further, no interior locations. So if you actually go into one of the mines, there will be no treasure hunter spawning in there. But otherwise, you shouldn't have much problem finding these guys. I found them very consistently at some of the major towns or locations all throughout the Ash Heap. The exact spawn rate isn't totally known because it is held server side, but it definitely seems to be pretty high. And in my experience, let's say I was server hopping or fast traveling 6 times, 4 out of those 6 tries, I would be finding one of these treasure hunters. What's a bit harder though is finding the most rare pale from these treasure hunters. After you find one, you'll notice they actually run away from you. They seem to have similar AI to the rad stag, so you will oftentimes have to chase them down. But once you do so, you'll be able to take them down and they'll have 1, a legendary item, but we'll return to that, and then 2, a pale. Although the treasure hunters are common, it does seem like the rarer pales are not nearly as common. Most often you'll find the lowest tier with the dusty mole miner pale. Alternatively, you could find a regular mole miner pale, or the nicest one, an ornate mole miner pale. Alternatively, if you don't want to just rely on finding treasure hunters, you can actually purchase these from vendors. You can purchase the plans from vendors, then craft them at a chemistry station. Unlike the Santa Scorched event, these are actually quite a bit more expensive. About twice the price for the ornate mole miner pale, which of course is what most people will be after. But even further, they remove the ability to craft 2 of these if you have one plan, which was possible last year with the Holiday Scorched event and the presents you could craft. And if you are mass crafting these, a simple server hop will make it so they appear yet again at a vendor. So it's not like there is a time limit even after you buy them from a vendor. There's a really well done document as to all that these pales can drop in the description down below. I shared this with you in the past video, but now it's a lot more relevant. It's much of what you could find with the Holiday Scorched presents, as well as a few new items that many people have started to retrieve. Although an important note if you're going this route, the new items will only appear on either the regular pales or the ornate pales, with 2 of the new items being ornate pale exclusives. As well as across the board, the crafted pales actually have a higher drop chance than the found pales. So if you craft an ornate pale, you'll have a better likelihood of getting these new items than if you just find an ornate pale, which is kind of frustrating. I don't understand why Bethesda would do that. So as far as the new items you can get from this, the ones that are exclusive to ornate pales, whether it be crafted or found, you have the sitting and standing gorilla, which are 2 new camp items that are actually fairly rare. They have a 1% chance of dropping on a crafted pale, or under 1% at 0.3% on a found one, and these are actually the lowest drop chance across the board out of all of the new items. But then for these next items, I'm not going to be reading off the drop chances, and even further, they only drop from either a regular mole miner pale or an ornate pale. They will not be found from dusty pales, and all of them have a higher likelihood of dropping from crafted pales. You have the Circus Cage Trailer, which is this cool, really big new camp item, goes quite well with those new gorillas. The Insurgent Hat and outfit, and importantly, these are 2 separate items. For all of these, you're getting the plan itself, not the actual item. So once you learn the plan, you can just craft these endlessly and give them to all your friends. The Marine Armor Helmet is finally now obtainable in-game in a legitimate way, or at least the plan for it. The Radstag Hunting Knife, the Safari Crocolosis Backpack, which is one of the other quite rare drops from this. Not quite as rare as those gorillas, but still pretty rare. It's the 2nd rarest item throughout. And then last but not least, the Treasure Hunter Outfit and the Treasure Hunter Outfit Hat. And then outside of these rewards, you'll have just a lot of the other miscellaneous rare drops. So overall, even though the Treasure Hunter event at first glance seems like it would be a cool new event in Fallout 76, it falls short in several ways. One of the first ones is it's quite artificial. With the Holiday Scorched event, you could do it large in part just by naturally playing the game, because Scorched spawn all over, and Holiday Scorched are in turn much more abundant throughout the map. Restricting this new Treasure Hunter event to only the Ash Heap region, and even further, making it so it doesn't actually apply to events in the Ash Heap region, make it so you basically just have to be wandering around the Ash Heap region to grind this out, or spend caps to get the craftables. It really doesn't fit in as well to the natural gameplay loop compared to the past event. But even further, one of the other big issues with this is, one of the really cool parts about the Holiday Scorched was you got a ton of legendary items because they were all legendary and they were fairly common. Definitely felt more common than a traditional legendary enemy. The problem when it comes to mole miners are the legendary treasure hunter mole miners are only level 40 and down. The way level lists in Fallout 76 works is if you have a level 40 enemy, it'll only drop a level 40 or 35 weapon. Top tier loot in Fallout 76 is level 45 or 50 depending on the item, so you will have sub tier items. Even if you get a god roll legendary from this, it won't actually be a god roll because it's going to be too low of a level, which you can't change. This is a super easy fix, just make it so all of these guys spawn according to your level, raise the cap 10 levels so they could spawn at level 50, and in turn you could get max tier legendaries. And then one of the other issues is the holiday event kind of overshined this one. So many of the drops are literally identical to the holiday event that, since so many people grinded those holiday scorched, which were available for several weeks, now they're kind of doing the same grind over again but getting the same rewards outside of those handful of new rewards, which again, you don't technically need to earn yourself because several people can craft for you. So overall, it's not a bad addition to Fallout 76, but it's one of those events that is, I just think, a bit suboptimal. Hopefully as they bring this back, which they said they will do for other regions of the map outside of the Ash Heap, they'll change things up, make it so they spawn at events, make it so their level cap is higher, or even occasionally give us a really tough one. Increase the model size and make it a 3-star guaranteed legendary treasure hunter that just takes a longer time to kill. I think people would really enjoy that and maybe give him some unique or better reward. So overall, I'd love to hear what you guys think about this event in the comments down below. Are you really enjoying it? Maybe you missed the holiday event, so this is your first real go at an event like this. Overall, I like that it's in the rotation. It'll mix up things from double experience and purveyor sales. It's nice to have some actual in-game activities, not just more XP, which most high-level players don't really care about. But two other things that were actually not fixed in the most recent update, which I initially missed in my first and second video, but are very big issues in the game that should be fixed, or hopefully will be. The Nuclear Winter spinny wheel issue, where when you first join a Nuclear Winter match, the spinning wheel will not work, actually extends 1, to Adventure Mode after initially joining Adventure Mode, but 2, it breaks all hotkeys, including the heal button, which is huge in Nuclear Winter. If you get into an early game fight, which is somewhat normal, especially on full servers in populated areas, if you want to switch your weapon, you have to open your Pip-Boy. If you want to heal yourself, you have to open your Pip-Boy. Considering how pivotal those early game exchanges can be to your success throughout an entire game, that's actually fairly game-breaking for that mode, or at the very least, immensely frustrating. Hopefully we see this hotfixed. I haven't seen much in the way of responses around this issue from Bethesda, but another one that did not get updated that I somewhat forgot about but then immediately remembered was they didn't fix the Scorched Beast Queen. Following Wastelanders, there was this problem where the Scorched Beast Queen could no longer be crippled. The perks of crippling it is it will stay on the ground longer, and in turn, stay on the ground pretty consistently. This became the main strat for killing the Scorched Beast Queen because, of course, hitting a grounded target is way easier than a flying, moving one. Even though Bethesda said this change around how easy or difficult or whatever is going on with crippling was a mistake and would be patched, we didn't see that patch, which to me seems odd. It didn't seem like a very complicated change, just changing some values, especially considering data miners identified the problem pretty quickly, so perhaps this was just an oversight and will come in patch 20, or maybe they liked the direction and are now just keeping it this way. It without a doubt made the queen fight more difficult if you're a lower level and trying to do it for the first time, but more so if you're with a big group of high tier players, it just made the fight overall take a lot longer. But otherwise, that's large in part going to wrap it up for this video. Hopefully you guys found it informative. But with all that being said, I thank you again for watching, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.